still the Eastern Business Report on the Afia Business Morning. I'm Nnamdi Obanya. Now, once upon a time, the state and regional governments had companies and corporations that employed thousands and drove development and innovation, and also provided much-needed funds for government to operate. From breweries to hotels to manufacturing companies, these edifices, institutions, and service providers covered the Nigerian landscape, with every government in the region taking part. But like most things related to the Nigerian government, corruption, mismanagement, partisan politics, truncation of the democratic process, lack of capacity of the labor force, power, and much more led to the demise of these ventures. But now, many governments are making a comeback to the capitalist game. From Presidential Hotel in Enugu to Star Paper Mill in Aba to Ibom Resort in Akwa Ibom, governors are stepping up and taking charge of their financial destinies. And now Edo State has joined the fray with the relaunch of a true icon of the East-West Road, the Nigerian road, Edo Line. From Bendel Line to Edo Line, the company has served generations of Bendelites and, of course, has a place in the hearts of those like me who have used it for all their life. It was heartbreaking when, due to years of mismanagement and corruption, Governor Obanya had to shut it down in 2017. But now, Governor Monday Okpebholo wants to wake the sleeping giant to see if it can help push Edo State along. And of course, to discuss the rebirth of Edo Line, a special advisor to the Edo State Governor on Media and Publicity, Mr. Bugie Okhuemoi, and he joins us now from Benin City. Good morning and good to have you on the program.
Morning, Nnamdi. My pleasure to be here.
So let me start from here. How was the feeling in 2017 when, due to mismanagement and mishandling, Governor Obaseki then had to close down what was for people like me a family member? Because growing up, whether going to my father's village in Ibuzo, my mother's village in Irua, or to spend Easter and Christmas with all my relatives in Benin, it was the same process. We would charter the then Bendel Line, and after that, Edo Line 504 station wagon, load the whole family, and move and come back with it. To the point, because it was just the family in the car, so it was a family thing, to the point where even the drivers became Uncle Raymond, Uncle Osas, even the drivers of the cars, we knew them. So it's an institution. So how was it when it had to be closed down?
I mean, when you were describing your experience a while ago, you just brought back very strong memories. At that time, my family was in Warri, and I was schooling in Edo State, FGC Odogbolu. And my parents, when it's time for resumption, take me to the park, hand me over to the drivers. The drivers would take me to school, even with passengers, drop me in school, and it was like that. So I mean, your opening just describes how much of what Edo Line, as it was then, meant to us in Edo State. It was beyond the transport company. It was a part of the law of us. It was a part of our lives. I mean, many people had fantastic memories, fantastic recollections of when Edo Line was thriving. In your topic, you said the king of the East-West Road. I think that's doing the service to what Bendel. I mean, it started as Midwest Line. It was founded in 1968. Yes, by the government of General Simon Okpebholo, and then he moved into Bendel Line before he went into Edo Line. So for a lot of people, that was part of it. Was a generational thing. So you can imagine how a lot of people felt as the decline started from sometime in the late 90s into the early 2000s. The decline just kept going on and on until they stopped operations in 2010, and then. Efforts, I don't know how much efforts were made by past administrations, but by 2017, like you mentioned in your earlier remarks, the government of Governor Obaseki had to shut it down. But being a very proactive, being a very practical leader, Governor Monday Okpebholo knew that was something that had to be brought back for so many reasons. Apart from the fact that during campaigns, the Edo Line conversation had been one that had been on for so long. So many reasons, so many excuses by different governments on why, it couldn't be repositioned. But Governor Monday Okpebholo, understanding the importance and the value that Edo Line would offer as a state-owned transport organization, placed it on his front burner that whatever it would take to resuscitate, the transport company was going to be done. Now, of course, as part of the reasons why the previous administration had to close up that outfit as it was then, was, I mean, so many liabilities, so many debts, so many liabilities. And Governor Okpebholo, being a very practical person, realized that if we have to wait till we can sort out all of those issues with it, it might be so a new arrangement. And what is being worked on that will be launched on the 27th is the new Edo Line, which is a fresh arrangement, which is a fresh structure, but of course still incorporating the legacy, still incorporating the assets in terms of brand assets that the previous one had. So it's very exciting. Edo residents were very excited to hear that, and the value, like I said, is so much more. And if we have time, I'll be able to enumerate some of these values that the new Edo Line starting would offer to Edo Indigenes. But I mean, everybody's very excited that icon, that establishment of pride that Bendelites, as they were then, had, is coming back.
I mean, I'm very interested in hearing these values, but there's a question I want to ask. Now, in 2017, when Governor Obanya closed it down, he ordered the workers to report to the Ministry of Transport. Now, even though this is a new arrangement, is there a plan for those workers in the ministry, at least to be reabsorbed, or is it going to be totally new? Would they have to reapply, to come onto the new Edo Line?
Okay, so Edo Line, as we operated before, had, I mean, a gamut of services, a gamut of activities that was involved in. We had in fact, in the dying days of Edo Line, the last major part of the line that, stayed till the end was the courier service. At some point, the courier service was a very major part of that structure. And, so many staff and so many, Edo Line had mechanics, had drivers, had administrative staff. As at the time the previous administration was winding it down, the staff that remained, were the Ministry of Transportation, like you mentioned. Under this new arrangement, the government is working with a fresh structure, fresh new drivers, fresh new personnel, but for the sake of experience, areas where the government feels that it requires certain capabilities and skills, those team members will be, of course, drafted into the new arrangements. But it's not going to be a situation where, with these new arrangements, all the former staff of the former Edo Line are brought into new Edo Line. No, there will be fresh recruitment. I mean, because it's a new arrangement, fresh energy, and of course, the way Edo Line operated as at 2017, or let me say 2010 when it ended, and the way transportation operates now, there's been a whole lot of transformation. So this new structure is being designed, is being put together to compete favorably with whatever is already on ground. So it's important that the hands that are being brought are hands that are consistent with the ideology of today's transportation structure. So where necessary, some of the old hands will be brought back, but this is largely a new arrangement, a fresh arrangement, fresh management. I mean, over 100 buses have already been provided. Edo State is unique in the sense that it's a very key transit hub. Yeah. Through Edo State, from Edo State, you can connect the north through Aduawa, Ekpoma, Auchi. You can connect the east through Agbo, Masaba. You can connect the south through Warri, Saple, and you can connect the west through Ondo, Ibadan. So in terms of commerce, in terms of driving logistics, in terms of driving, expansion, Edo State is very key. So it's very important that whatever the government is doing in terms of structures like this are very competitive and they can serve the requirements of today's needs. So, like, to answer your question directly, where it's necessary to get experience, where it's necessary to get some form of consistency and continuity, the personnel that fit that to be drafted in. But it's largely a new arrangement with, a new structure and delivering something fresh. Okay,
so it's a new arrangement. It's good to hear over 100 buses. That means that by default, 100 jobs minimum, even for drivers, have been created already. Even without minimum, yes, even without thinking of those who handle payments, baggage handlers, security, cleaners, mechanics. We've not even facility managers. We've not even thought of all those. You know, even the possibility of other businesses like now everybody is booking online, and I'm sure Edo Line is going in that direction. So even for technical support again. But under this new arrangement, what happens to the assets of the old Edo Line? Is it still James Watts? Is the head office still going to be at James Watts Road? And is the Lagos office still going to be at Jibowu? Or is the company getting whole new facilities?
Okay, like I mentioned, there were a lot of encumbrances with the past agreements in terms of liabilities, in terms of debts, in terms of, so there was just a lot for that outfit as it was then too. If the government had said they should wait to sort all of that out, it probably would have been more cost intensive. It probably would have had a lot more. But I mean, this is a government that is very practical. This is a government that is moving as quickly as it can. If you look at the achievements of this administration under the able leadership of Governor Monday Okpebholo over the last 6 months, it's just been amazing. You know, I tell people, I said, when you see somebody face so much criticisms, it shows that the person is doing something right. It is the tree that has fruits that people throw stones at. So much has been done. Governor Okpebholo is in a hurry to deliver on the promises to make to Edo people. So he really didn't want to, stick with that old arrangement. So in terms of location, we're not operating from James Watts. We're operating from a brand new location, state-of-the-art facility. I mean, you need to get to the facility. It's like I said, Governor Okpebholo is putting together an outfit that will compete favorably with any existing transport line presently. So this new outfit is having to acquire a lot of its own, resources. But it may not start on a massive scale in the beginning. Governor Okpebholo is a very practical person. Just to take you back a little bit, in all fairness to the government of Comrade Adams Oshiomhole and leader government, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, when he came into office, he really, really had major plans to attend to the transportation system with regards, the government's own transportation lines. But because of those encumbrances I mentioned with Edo Line, he also being a very practical person, a grassroots person, somebody eager to deliver, decided, okay, we have two transport companies. We have the ECTS, Edo City Transport Service, that serves interstate transportation. And then we had the Edo Line that served intrastate. So what he did was, okay, let me focus on this interstate, the ECTS, while hopefully my successor will come in and attend to the intrastate. And the records are there. Governor Oshiomhole did fantastically well with the ECTS. I mean, over 15 massive high-capacity buses were provided, called comrade buses. I mean, they became a symbol of sorts in Edo State, and we're expecting that the next administration will take it further but unfortunately, the next administration apparently did not have major plans in that direction. Not a single bus was added to the ECTS. The buses the ECTS operates with till today are the buses that the comrade governor provided. Nothing was done. So that further compounded the situation. So this government coming in now is, like I said, working from a new location, state-of-the-art equipment. This governor was like, why is it so difficult to, I mean, individuals are only transport companies every day with one bus, two buses, three buses, a state government shouldn't have. So we're operating from new facilities, acquiring new assets, and the management team that has been put in place that was announced recently is, more than competent to ensure. So we're starting, and gradually we'll see the expansion till it gets to that new Edo Line that we all knew in the past. So we're not so much because, like I said, so much of the assets of the past arrangements are quite cumbersome. There are so many issues around them. So it's relatively new structure.
So I have to ask this question now. There are many transport companies that the vacuum created by Edo Line led to their expansion. There were some who were already big then, the likes of Edegbe and Bobizwa and Big Joe. They've always been big. But there were other smaller companies that came up to fill the vacuum left by Edo Line. And, route specialization became a thing. Some people decided, I have 3 Siennas and a bus, I'm only doing Warri via Sapele Road. And now that if Edo Line comes back into the fray and there's a glut of buses, does it in any way, affect these businesses and these people who have invested in bringing vehicles and expanding their own transport companies?
I don't think so. Well, it shouldn't. This is enterprise. There will always be competition. There will always be the government coming into the space is just going to drive competition, and it's going to drive value for the people. For example, the government definitely will more competitive pricing than what is already available. That's almost certain. In terms of services, like I said, the government intends to run a very competitive and a very, very, very functional outfit. So for me, like I said, Edo State is a transportation hub. The demand, I don't think matches the supply. There's still so much space for people to play in. And I think it's just going to further drive the competition. If there were private transportation companies that at certain times, enjoyed some level of control in the space, with the entrance of the government into the space, I think it's going to further drive competition. It's going to further drive service delivery. And at the end of the day, it's the people that will be better off for it. So I don't think it's negatively going to impact them. It will put them on their toes to offer better value to Edo people. And it's always about Edo people. That's what's most important. So in terms of pricing, for example, the new Edo Line is going to be a game changer. So that's value for Edo people. Prices I expect will drop. And then, of course, the quality of services would also improve. So I don't think it should not, let me not say it should not for any serious-minded businessman who knows how to manage his business and knows how to be confident.
Now, we're looking at, the East-West Road for a long time has, suffered a lot of neglect. We know that recently the Minister for Works, Engineer Dave Umahi, has been on various surprise visits, trying to drag contractors by the ear to get the work done. Being that the Edo State government is, bringing Edo Line back, which is a major move in transport, does this also mean that the state government is going to have an aggressive works policy with regards to road infrastructure? Because if it's coming into transport, then that means that does the state government have a transport policy that they are pushing, a works and infrastructure policy, particularly for roads, that they are pushing side by side with this project?
Okay, like I said earlier on, Edo Line is an intrastate transport company. So it's shuttling between states, and that takes effective control over road issues from the state government. There's just a little influence that the state government has on roads that are outside of its control. So the government will not have so much. But just to reiterate what I said earlier on, there seems to be so much emphasis on the East-West Road, which is connecting the South-South. Edo Line is going to be, accessing transcendent in the South-South. It's taking up with Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. Before the event ends, I'll confirm the locations they are taking up for. But the East-West Road is just one of the routes that the company will have to.
For the Eastern Business Report, our focus is the Southeast and the South-South. So I'm partial towards the Southeast and South-South. That's our region of concern. And Edo Line coming in will not only drive down prices in Edo State, but will drive down prices for businesses along the whole route. Because another player coming in is supply of options, which means better prices for businessmen, better prices for customers. So, particularly in the region, it's a very, 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 very important. And you mentioned correctly that Edo State is a transport hub. Apart from being a transport hub, the old Bendel is actually the real east-west gateway. It's actually the gateway to the east. The Western Nigeria ends there, and if you're going to the east, you cannot avoid, the old Bendel, Edo and Delta. So it's a very pivotal and important thing that a transport company that has pedigree, has been known for generations, and unlike some private companies, the owner, it's the state government. There's someone to be held responsible, which is very, very, important for anybody who is doing any business. So that's where the partiality for me comes from, because we are partial to the Southeast and South-South. So everybody within the Southeast and South-South is very important. But you mentioned earlier some of the values.
Yeah.
of the new Edo Line. So what kind of values are these?
Okay, so just to touch on your first question, we've seen massive infrastructural developments under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the APC administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I mean, we have one of the most hardworking and tireless ministers of works that we've had in a long time, and we're very confident that in a short while, just in March here, the very ambitious project, the Asaba Benin Highway project was commissioned. Fantastic, massive project, 10 lanes, solar lifts. I mean, super highway, and there are several of such projects that also litter this region. So we expect that in a short while, we'll have better commuting experiences on this axis, the south-south, southwest. Like you rightly said, you can't get to the east without Benin, Lagos, Asaba, before you get to the Niger Bridge. So it's key infrastructure for that. In terms of value, the world has evolved. As much as we hold nostalgic memories and feelings about the past Edo Line, we're also conscious of the fact that the times in which the former Edo Line functioned is different from today. Today, we've seen an explosion of commerce, with the advent of e-commerce and with the advent of improved technology in that direction. We're seeing more people get into entrepreneurship at e-commerce level, and that has created a huge market for logistics, movement of goods across the region. Edo Line is going to be a major player in that direction. So we are going to be seeing more effective, more cost-effective, more quicker and more efficient transportation of goods and services across the region. Talking about human movements, human traffic, with the coming in of Edo Line now, a state-owned transport company run professionally, offering competitive prices, it's going to facilitate the movement of people within the region as well. There's an integration agenda within the South Governors Forum, which seeks to encourage and make more efficient the movement of goods within the region. So Edo Line coming in is also going to be offering that is going to be helping with that agenda. Of course, like I've kept talking about, more effective pricing. As it is today, the average cost of moving from Benin to Lagos with the regular private companies presently available is over 20,000 naira. And you ask yourself, what's the purchasing power of a large segment of society? How many of them can spend that amount of money? So what you are seeing now is that you are having a situation where people are having to reduce how much they have to travel because of the high cost. So probably some journeys that somebody would have wanted to get on, because of the cost, the person has to reduce it. So a trader who probably goes to Lagos to buy stuff and comes back, if the trader used to do maybe 10 trips in a month, because of the cost, the trader has to reduce, so probably like 5 or 6 or maybe much less. With more competitive pricing coming in, we're going to see more increase. We're going to see increase in commerce. We're going to see increase in trade, amongst so many other values. Let's even look at the psychological boost that it gives to the Edo indigenous. That consciousness, I mean, the pride of being in Abuja and seeing an Edo Line, the pride of being in Ibadan and seeing an Edo Line, the pride of being in psychologically, it makes our citizens feel better about their state. So the benefits are massive across several, financial, logistics, psychological, amongst so many others. But this is a game changer to open up commerce for the region, to open up logistics, to open up transportation of goods and, of course, humans. So several beautiful things coming with this.
I mean, it's fantastic to hear that all this has been taken on board, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Edo Lines beginning to strut their stuff on the highways. I don't know what the emotions will be like for me. It's something I'm sure you can understand what that would be to someone like me. But before I let you go, I have to ask you this. The Edo State government has started giving out the 1 billion naira loan to traders, and we hear it's about 200,000 naira for, I think, 5,000 traders. So what my thing is this. The governor mentioned something that I picked up, which was that if people did not receive the money, they were to let the government know immediately. So has the government set up, is there a mechanism on ground already for the people, for feedback for the traders to get directly to the government to let them know, look, we've been penned down, but the money has not been disbursed to us?
Of course, Governor Monday Okpebholo is very practical. He's very hands-on. He wants to, he doesn't just, Governor Okpebholo is not an office governor, you get. He does what he has to do in the office, but he wants to be on ground. So he doesn't just initiate policies and then sit down waiting for paper reports. There's always that back-end channel that he creates to ensure. That's why a lot of times you see him on project inspections, you see him moving around, supervising and ensuring that the initiatives that have been designed at state level are communicated and the values translate to where they should be. Now, the agency driving the loan management and disbursement is the Edo Jobs, the Edo Skills Acquisition Agency. That's the Edo Jobs, what we refer to as Edo Jobs. The Edo Jobs is working with a database that has been put together, and all those who will be receiving the loans are. The government has put together a team that keys perfectly into its vision, and it's working strictly along the agenda that the governor has set up. So through those agencies, if there's going to be any issue along the line, it will not be at the agency level. It probably might be, maybe a bit further down. So through the agency and other channels that the governor has established, there are several ways that people can always get back to the government on how it goes. So those structures are already there. Those channels have already been created. And trust Governor Monday Okpebholo. Don't be surprised if after loans have been disbursed, he calls for a record and he goes to the markets to check these people himself. That's the kind of person he is. Very practical. He could be going towards maybe Edo Central, Isha, and then he asks the DG of the agency and says, how many people collected? Give me about 100 names of people who took loans in this place. And he goes there to go and find out. So it's a hands-on government, very practical. And for the governor to have said that, trust me, a lot has been put in place to ensure that these channels are created.
That's good to hear. And we'll be following that development. But thank you so much for being here this morning. Really appreciate you being on the program and looking forward to the success of Edo Line. Special advisor to the Edo State Governor on Media and Publicity, Mr. Bugie. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We do appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the future.
Anytime, I'm available. Thank you so much. Thank you. And when you see the new Edo Line anywhere, please send me a message.
I will. I will snap a picture and send it.
Fantastic. I'm waiting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here this morning. And of course, that's all we can take on the Eastern Business Report.